So you should have heard a recording in progress. And I would like to welcome everyone to one of our tool talks, the Library Makers Tool Talk, Cricut and other extreme sports. The Library Makers is a group, collaborative, working to share resources and grow libraries, makerspaces across the US. We have some really exciting stuff going on. We do regular talks. We have a Facebook group, and we also have a network through our webpage called Mighty Networks, what I'll post at the end. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Cela Janiec. She's a studio specialist at Anythink Libraries, and she'll be presenting on Cricut and other extreme sports.
My sister's the one who came up with the title.
It's good.
So I know we've kind of gone over with a few people, but I did want to kind of gauge how well everyone else who hasn't contributed, you are familiar with the Cricut. How comfortable is everyone feeling? That's all right. That's okay. So the Cricut, as we can know, yes, not at all. That's fine. There's going to be a lot of different skill levels in a lot of these classes, but we're always going to start from beginner and move our way up. The Cricut is a die cutter, which is a computer controlled blade essentially that can cut through a medley of different materials. The ones that my library space primarily uses is going to be sticker material, heat transfer vinyl, cardstock, leather, a lot of other things like that, but I have heard other people use things like felt, things like chipboard, really thin levels of veneer for wood projects, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to launch into what Cricut looks like. And let me go ahead and make sure that I'm on the right page. And feel free for anyone to go ahead and just raise your hand to ask a question. And we'll go ahead and get going.
And if you don't know, down below at the bottom of your screen, it should say reactions, and then one of the options is to raise your hand.
So when you open up Cricut Design Space, and one of the great things about Cricut Design Space that we will usually tell our patrons is that it is free to download and it is free to make an account. So we have people that will just go home and work on a design and then bring it in to use our Cricut machines with a lot of the times. And when you open up your Cricut Design Space, this is what you're going to be seeing. It'll take you to this homepage, which has a lot of information in it. You don't really need to know any of it, but it is sometimes helpful to scroll through because it does show you a lot of professional level projects. So these are artists of Cricut who were either hired by Cricut or did pay into or were paid for their designs. And a lot of times they will introduce a professional level kind of project. They will have something like the dimensions of what you're looking for, what kind of vinyl, what kind of material you need, and a whole slew of other kind of ingredients to make your project. And that is something that is very, very helpful for when we're introducing Cricut in our space, because a lot of people, they kind of be overwhelmed with all the options, and taking it to the professional kind of area will help them kind of determine, oh, this is what the Cricut can do. This is how I can apply it to my life. And so that's been very helpful as well. For the most part, most patrons, we're just going to throw them right into the new project button. And that will open up our canvas area. So this is always going to be a blank canvas, and some of them will have grids, some of them won't, depends on your preferences, your settings. I will often do gridless because one of the biggest downfalls of Cricut is that it will not allow you to export anything. So you cannot export a project to bring it into a different software. So I will often take a screenshot of it, and I can show you how to do that later on when we've got that particular ball rolling. So when you've loaded in to your empty canvas, you'll see your layers on the right, you'll see a whole slew of buttons on the left, and a lot of times the primary things that we see in our space are going to be stickers, t-shirts, tote bags, and mugs and gift tags that we'll see a lot of the time, using infusible ink with the mugs, using cardstock with the gift tags. There's a lot of versatility with Cricut. So one of, let's see, scrolling through my notes. So on the left here, you'll see something that's called templates, and that will bring in a whole bunch of pre-made templates that you can use to kind of help you figure out your design process. We primarily use it for t-shirts or mugs, because you just click on something like classic t-shirts and it will load in a template for you where you can start making a design on your t-shirt to size. And you can do front and back, you can do all kinds of fun things. And then you can also turn it off on the far side over there. I usually will just work with a blank canvas, but it's also entirely up to you. We do also often will run programs based off of the templates. And that's also been pretty helpful with that, because it helps everyone keep everything to scale. And it helps everyone keep something within the parameters of the project. A lot of people, they'll either go too small or too big. And that's fine. We can always scale it back. So when it comes to, I'm going to work through our project list. I'm going to start with the theoretical sticker. We'll have a lot of patrons come in to want to do a sticker, and you can do that a couple different ways. The most often way is going to be through an image upload on the left here. So when you click on an upload, it'll bring you to our screen here, and we'll do an upload image. And these are all images that people have previously loaded in for sticker making or for other things like that. And we can go in and grab a few different things. Oh, we're going to grab that one. So this is a design I created using Illustrator. So this is one of those things where your expertise in a different software can translate to other expertise in other softwares. So when I've loaded this in, you'll see that it just has cut image on the left here. Usually when you load something in, instead, you'll see this one. There's two different options. So when it was loaded in before, that's because I loaded in as a scalable vector graphic. That's fancy talk for a image file that will allow you to scale the image infinitely. So it's made out of shapes instead of pixels. When you upload an image that's not an SVG or that doesn't have a transparent background, you'll see this particular screen, and you'll change the image type based on how complex your image is. Usually I'll hit around the moderately complex or complex. You can see here, when I click on simple, I miss a lot of my detail of my toucan. And then we'll try moderately complex, see what it looks like. We're still not getting a lot of detail. Complex it is. We'll go ahead and hit continue. And this particular screen, it's designed to tell you what exactly you're looking at for your sticker or for your image. And we can see that we've got this gray mottled background that we don't want. We want to have a clear background. And this screen, is designed to go ahead and just let you click away parts that you don't want. But you can also restore areas as well when you have your little restore button. So we're going to restore our little toucan's head. But in practice, it'll be different levels of how smooth it is, and all depending on how clean your particular image is working with. So let's say that this is where this is good, this is great. We're going to go ahead and click apply and continue. And this is where we're going to see some differences that the Cricut will produce for us. So we've got our cut image on the left and our print then cut image on the right. For stickers, we're always going to do a print then cut image, because with the print then cut aspect that Cricut provides is it will throw it through a inkjet printer and then land it onto our Cricut page, where we can then tell the Cricut where exactly to cut things out. So we're going to go ahead and click on upload, and that will bring us our little toucan. Once we click on it, we can click add to canvas, and it will populate in. We're missing a little bit of the beak, but that's okay. And this is where we can now scale things to different sizes. And you can also, up here in this upper area where it says size with our width and height, we can just enter in a particular size. Hit enter, and there we go, easy peasy. For stickers, the biggest issue that we'll see with our Cricut is that sometimes it will not read the image entirely properly. So when we go to cut it, what it will do is it will start cutting out like the tropical words. It'll start cutting out the leaves. It'll start cutting out everything. And we don't want that to happen. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to offset. What that is going to do, as you can see on our screen here, is it provides a bubble around your image by which the Cricut will then cut. You can scale that way up or way down. A lot of times we'll do something either really close or really onto it. I'll settle with 0.125. And for some reason, it will always make that a black color. I don't know why. That's just Cricut's go-to. You can change your colors up here where it says operation. That little black square there, that'll allow you to change all your colors. For the offset, I always change it to white because we have a white sticker paper. And what that will end up producing is a little toucan with a white bubble around it. So now it's gone a little bit invisible on the canvas itself. But if we look over here on the right, we can see our layers. And that'll tell you how many images are in your canvas, how many pieces are there, how many groups, whether they're connected or not. And for stickers, we always want to flatten them. Because if we don't flatten this and we just go to make it, what the Cricut will see, it will see the toucan that it wants to cut into pieces, and then the offset that it wants to cut into a bubble. So you'll end up having a bubble with a toucan in pieces. So we don't want that. We want our toucan whole. So we're going to go ahead and flatten it. And you'll see on the right how it changes it to a flatten. Now, when we throw it through our inkjet printer, it will show as an entire sticker. It'll just cut that bubble out. So we'll go into make it, and that's when it's going to produce our area that will show you what the Cricut's going to see. So we've got our 8.5 by 11 piece of sticker paper here. The Cricut is designed to see these little black corners here. So when it sucks it into the Cricut, it will scan all of those black corners, and that's telling the machine where exactly on the paper, on the mat, that this sticker is located. So it's usually up here, but we can move it down straight in the middle if we wanted to. Like if we were using like a half sheet of sticker paper, we can tell it to go into certain areas where our paper actually exists. And then we'll just send it to our printer. You can also change your material size on the left. You can also mirror it. Mirroring is something that we'll really only do for heat transfer vinyl for doing t-shirts or tote bags or things like that. For the most part, you won't need it. The handy dandy thing, and we'll see this later as well, is that Cricut now will tell you when your project needs to be mirrored. So if you tell it that you're using a heat transfer vinyl, if we go into continue here, it will tell you to mirror it. So theoretically, I would hit send to printer, and this little thing would pop up. Primarily, we don't use bleed. Bleed is a border that the Cricut will add to your image, but because we use that offset, we don't need it. So that's when I'll just click off bleed. We'll hit print. It'll send it to the printer, and then we'll send it to the Cricut. So that's our first theoretical one. It was fast. Does anyone have any questions? I have to scroll through the list. Any hands? Okay, I don't see any hands. Alrighty.
I'm just curious, did everybody understand
Yes.
all those words like
There's a
bleed
lot of
and
vocabulary.
flatten and those things? Is anyone lost, or are you all with
I'm
us?
happy to explain.
We have the time. I was just going to say that the last time I was using Cricut was in 2020, and it's gotten even better since then.
They've done a lot of really great quality of life updates.
Yeah, the user interface looks a lot easier
Oh, yeah. Oh,
than the
yeah.
last time I was there. Curious what other people here have made with Cricut before or a
Ooh,
similar
yes.
kind of tool.
Oh, I see a different kitty.
Okay, Danelle says offset is what I've been missing.
Yes, offset is really nice. It gives you that nice bubble. It can make your stickers kind of elevate from cut up little pieces and elevating into a more professional, sleek look.
Honestly, I wish Illustrator had that feature. I mean, it has offset, but not just like, hey, I'm making a sticker.
Right, yeah. I can do an Illustrator class too, as well, if we want to. So if there's no questions about the stickers, we can go ahead and move on to gift tags, which is one of my favorites because I find it very funny, and you'll know why in a second. So my particular library, we do pay for a subscription to Cricut. And I have given the advice of if you're like a hobbyist or someone who doesn't use Cricut very often, I don't recommend the subscription. If you're a library or a print shop or something like that, I would recommend it because there are a lot of really robust images that you get access to, a lot of really nice fonts that you can work with. One of those things is not gift tags. So on our left here, we've got this shapes tool over here, which gives you a whole production of shapes that you can work with. You can see that they have different shapes that are also included with the subscription. But in theory, if we go into our images section here, which has a bunch of different subjects that you can look through, a bunch of different categories, everything that you see under the licensor agreements, those are all going to be charged for a modicum of money, even if you have a subscription. It'll be less if you have a subscription, but we always tell people that that's what it does. So if you're surprised that it's not letting you,
Someone might need to turn their mute back on.
Yeah, and then you can look through a whole bunch of themes and graphics and so on and so forth like that. But let's start with just typing in something like gift tag. We do also have to tell people that it's not Google. You can't type in Iron Man. You can't type in I want a picture of a cat. You type in cat. And you can see that it produces a bunch of different results, that a lot of them are produced by other Cricut artists, other Cricut makers. And you can see which ones, they'll usually have a little price tag on there. They're crossed out for me because I have that subscription, but others won't. There's a few, I should have loaded it in before, but there used to be one that it was a very, very simple shape that charged even me money, which was very surprising. But let's say in theory that I really liked this one right here. I'll go ahead and click on it. And another great quality of life update that they've done is that you can click on multiple. And if you look down here, right next to where it says cancel and add to canvas, it has all of the images that I've selected. So if you're ever just window shopping and be like, oh, that one looks cool, or you keep scrolling like, oh, that one looks nice, you can click and just keep adding to your basically a shopping cart essentially of objects that you like. And you don't have to just scroll all the way back to try to find them. So we're going to stick with this one. We're going to hit add to canvas and it's going to go ahead and bring it in. So let's say that we had these shapes here and we went into the Make It and we found out that it was charging us money, and we didn't want that to happen. We were kind of surprised, unpleasantly. So what we could do if we wanted to try to create our own gift tags using others as an example, using things as inspiration, Or even if you're kind of like, I really like the look of this one, but I need it tweaked just a little bit, that's when we're going to start using our shapes tool. So our primary shape that we're going to be working with these particular tags is going to be a square. We're going to just load in a square. And right now, whenever you load in a shape, it's going to have its ratios locked. And what that means is that the width and the height are going to be constant. So that means no matter what I do, I'm not going to be able to get a rectangle. But if I go back up to where it says my size and the width and heights, there's that little lock right there. I can go ahead and unlock my ratios, and that will allow me to stretch it into different areas. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we'll grab, we can see at the bottom of these particular tags, it's like a little triangle. And a lot of times when I'm working with customers, it's about recognizing shapes for what their basic shapes are. A lot of people will look at that gift tag and be like, that's the shape of a gift tag. In reality, it's the shape of a rectangle and a triangle on top of each other with a circle inside of it. So it's about breaking down what things are into their most basic forms. So we've got our triangle here. When we hover over our corners, we can see how our mouse changes shape, and we can go ahead and just swing it right around. And you can see how I can change it into variable degrees. If I hold Shift button on my keyboard, it will lock it into more fine degrees. So that will allow me to get to that 180. We'll go ahead and slide our triangle back up, break our ratio so we can smoosh it into a more pleasing form. And then we've got our little gift tag. But as you can see, our gift tag is a little bit off. And that's when we can use our alignment tool. Whenever we want to select something and align it, we're going to go ahead and click and hold and drag, and that's going to create this selection box. We're going to go ahead and select. We're going to go up to align right up here by arrange and flip. And we're going to go ahead and center horizontally, and that's going to just snap everything so it's nice and put together. And then this is one of the biggest updates that Cricut has ever done. It allows it to be a lot more like Illustrator, where you can combine shapes. Down here underneath our layers bit, we can go ahead and click on that, and we can do a whole slew of other things. And we can go over those in detail later if we want to. But we're going to go ahead and click on Unite, because right now we have a separate rectangle and a separate triangle that the Cricut will see as things that need to be cut separately, but we don't want that. We want them to be connected. We're going to go ahead and click Unite. And then, ta-da, we've got our gift tag. We'll just need our little circle so that we can thread our ribbon through. I'm going to resize it, put it up there. We're going to change the color so you can see it a little bit better. Do our same alignment, center horizontally, same selection, go down to combine. Instead of unite, we will subtract. And there we go. We have our gift tag. We can add hearts to it. We can add doodles to it. We can add all kinds of other things to it. Any questions about that one?
There's a few questions and comments in the chat.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Is there a difference between weld and unite?
So let's go ahead and go back. I can show you. I am not the biggest fan of weld. That used to be the only tool that Cricut had for that kind of thing. And it was not particularly clean or clear. So let's say that we wanted to put them together instead of subtracting. When we weld, first of all, our circle went away. The same thing would have happened with Unite as well. That's because our things are connected together. But the Cricut will see it as slightly different. The issue with weld is that it is permanent. You cannot undo it. So that is if you save and then go away, it won't be able to. But because I haven't saved, I'm just going to hit Control-Z on my keyboard, and that's allowing me to undo. Weld is also something, it's very similar to flatten in that it will it'll smoosh everything together, but unsimilar to flatten. Flatten creates basically a grouping mechanism of your layers. versus weld, which I can bring it back up. We can see here on our right here is that it's just one layer now instead of 2 layers versus our flatten or our unite, which we can see right here, that it's a grouping of those 2 layers that we united together. And so when we go to our full subtract as well, we can see all of our layers, and that's great for editability. So you can be, oh, I don't actually like the placement of that circle. Let's say I want to move it. I can go ahead and just click on the layer in there and just move it over to the left and then click away again, and it will re-subtract it from that gift tag, but now over to the left. But when you want to finally just combine everything, so you have like 68 layers, you just want to smoosh everything together so that's not looking so busy, that's when you can use weld. Or merge layers in this particular example, because we have those multiple subtracts and unites. I personally don't see much a use of weld because unite handles that for us. And when we've united, subtracted, intersected, etc., these shapes, merging layers will fix that just fine. So now I've got a clean single layer.
And Julia says, I'm not able to move my shape with shift.
With rotating?
I am not sure what.
Okay. Are you, when you hover over the corner, you've got that rotation wheel looking thing. Are you clicking and holding, and then also holding shift? No wheel. Huh. When you're hovering over it, are you seeing the the directional arrows going different ways when you hover over a corner?
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, the only thing I've got is like the 4 little sizing boxes in the corners. I've got no wheel at all.
When you hover further away, does the little rotation U-shape come?
Yes, I've got it.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got to
it's
like
usually
hover near that corner. Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Love
Usually if it's not showing up, just try pulling it a little further away.
Okay.
Sometimes Cricut can get a little confused about what you're trying to do. It is ultimately just a software. It's just code. And it's only as smart as the person who made it.
Okay. As long as it's only as smart as the user, right? That's perfect. Thank you so much for your help.
Yeah, of course. Alrighty, any other questions about this particular part? I know it's a lot, but we're recording, so you can always go back through. Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and delete everything because we're going to go down to tote bags. So for this particular one, we're going to go over to images, and we're going to, I'm trying to remember something that one of my patrons used. We're going to go back to our categories and look at our subjects and graphics and so on and so forth. And let's go ahead and do something with nature, because why not? And it'll load in a whole bunch of these looks. They are organized by when they were uploaded a lot of the time. You can change them looking over at relevance. And these are all uploaded by customers or professional Cricut artists. So let's say that a lot of these are pretty good examples, but when we're working with color, so if we're doing a tote bag, we're going to be working with heat transfer vinyl. The more colors you see in a design, the more layers of vinyl you're going to use. And when you're heat transferring, we use 100% cotton tote bags, and we do a maximum of 30 seconds under 330 degrees heat. When you're doing these layers, you'll want to break those seconds down to how many layers you're using. So for example, with this particular flower we're seeing here, it looks like about 3 different colors. So we're going to break our 30 seconds down to 10 seconds each per layer. And the reason why you do that is because you don't want, if we put the green down first and do the full 30 seconds, and we put the yellow down first or second, and then do the full 30 seconds, that green layer is now sitting there for 60 seconds. That green layer is going to start peeling back up, because the more heat that you introduce, the less integrity your vinyl is going to have. So the more it's going to start melting, the more it's going to start oozing, the more it's going to want to just peel right back up. So that's why we break it down to those 10 seconds for layers of 3 colors. We're going to break that further down if there's more layers, or larger if there's less layers. Generally speaking, I don't recommend going above 4 layers. If they're very small layers, you can kind of pull it off. And if you're more experienced with it, you can go further. But to start with, I would do 2 or 3 layers, especially for customers who are new to it. We'll have a lot of customers who will be like, "Ooh, that looks good," and "Oh, that looks good," and not realize how complicated something will actually be and how long it'll actually take. But we're going to go ahead, and I think we'll go ahead and grab, ooh, this is a good one. We're going to grab our roses over here. We're going to go ahead and click add to canvas. But let's say that we actually wanted to have each rose be a different color. So this is where things can get a little bit complicated. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roses here. And they're all connected. We can look over at our layers and we can see that we only have 1 layer. If I turn that off, it just all goes away. And I can't break it down into its individual rose parts unless I manually break it down myself. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to go ahead and copy and paste. We're going to have two different ones at the moment. And let's say I wanted to remove this top rose from the other so that I could make it yellow, and the second one so I can make it blue, things like that. And this is something that I learned through Illustrator, and something that I was very, very happy to see when Cricut allowed me to be able to do that as well. So I'm going to grab a shape. It doesn't really matter what shape in particular. I usually will grab a square. Doesn't ultimately matter. And I'm going to go ahead and just line it up as close as I can to the bottom of that top rose and cover all those other roses. So if we look on at our layers, we can see what our layers are currently looking like. And now we're going to do something that we saw before with our gift tag. We're going to go ahead and combine, and we're going to subtract. Boop, I now have a single rose. We're going to go ahead and copy and paste, get another shape. Since we want our second rose, we're going to go ahead and cover that first one, grab another square. And sometimes you can play around with using like a crescent, playing around with other shapes in order to better meld your shapes together. And then get cleaner cuts. So
I do have a question. What is the difference between subtract and slice?
Let's see. So subtract, let me get an example going. So subtracting is it's removing that element. Slicing, we'll go ahead and run it through a slice. There we go. So you can see the difference already. We have these combined areas, and this is a slice example. You can see a very fun, it will take that, the negatives essentially of your image and produce 2 different shapes. So we can look over on back on our right over here, and we've got 4 different layers that all say slice result because they have several different sections. And now you can see how it's broken it up into 4 different images, which is great if you're going for something like this, because this would be something that's really good for like a cake stencil, something to dust powdered sugar over so that you can lift it away and have that rose shape. Great for if you want if you want more vinyl and less of that material poking through. That's what I would primarily use it for, but there's going to be a whole medley of other reasons that you could use it for as well. But it does produce a lot of images for the particular instance where we just want roses of different colors. It can be a bit crowded over in our section there. Does that help? Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Alrighty, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and make our other rows larger here. So we can see that our last subtraction wasn't quite perfect. So this is where we can start just like getting a little bit closer with our shapes here, just to make it a little bit more perfect. But it's the finagly bits where we can start doing it better. But ultimately, that's how I would go about getting these separate roses so that I can then get my different colors going. Yes, exactly, Yvonne. Yeah, you can only slice, what Yvonne said was you can only slice 2 layers where you can use the combine feature on several layers images at once. So a good example of that would be like we've got our, once it's loaded in, we've got our circle here. I can go ahead and just grab another circle to finish off making it a cleaner slice. And I can grab all 3 of those images to combine them. So now we've got our second rows all done. Okay, let's say that this is all I wanted to do. We can go ahead and change our colors using the same way that we did with the offset earlier. You just click on your image, click on the color next to operation, and then you can change what color you're working with. And the great thing about that particular thing is that when we go into make it, the Cricut will automatically read what colors you're using and will automatically separate your mattes based off of those colors. So you'll have a purple matte or a yellow matte or red matte, however many colors you're working with, into those separate mattes. So one of the other things that Cricut has introduced is editable images, and that's down here also on our left. We can go ahead and click on there. And all of these images are designed to be edited in some way. So we'll find one, we'll hit add to canvas, and it will allow us to bring it in. And you can see how back with our roses, it was all loaded in as one separate image. Whereas this particular one loads in as 4 separate images. So we could go in, we can click on the Mrs. Anderson, we can change the font by clicking on fonts up there, and you'll see a whole slew of fonts that get populated. When you don't have a subscription, a lot of these are you'll have to pay for. But even now and then, see this one right here where it says Cursive 101, even with a subscription, they'll want you to pay for it. This is just based off of how specialized the font is, how flexible it is, whether it was designed by a professional Cricut artist or one that was designed by an amateur artist who then uploaded it, things like that. We can also go in, change our colors, and we're going to detach that so we can get other colors going in, and generally have fun with it. And that's the fun part about the editable images, is it allows you a little bit more straight flexibility versus the other images where we just have this one layer here where we have to go in and manually force it to give us those layers that we can then edit. We'll have often a lot of people, they will grab images or editable images to create stickers instead of going into Illustrator or drawing their own image that they would then upload like we did with the sticker. And we would do the exact same thing with the sticker. We would just grab it, add an offset, throw it to the printer, call it good. And you can do all different kinds of things with that as well. And do a whole slew of fun things. Another fun thing with this particular text tool is that it will allow you to curve it as well. So we can get some nice fun shapes in there. We can also explode our text. So if we hit, oops, cats invading. We can explode our text. We don't explode cats. To then change it so that we can edit every single individual letter as well. It'll also break it down into all those layers on the right as well. We can group it, we can smash it back together so it's all one layer again, same as we did last time. There's a lot of things to do. It can very easily seem overwhelming for a lot of people when they first load in and be like, oh my God, there's so much to do. But if you break it down one by one, you can get a hang of it, no problem. So we are close to we're at the 15-minute mark. So I wanted to know if anyone else had any other questions. Oh, we got a thing. Yes, exactly. Okay, so what Yvonne said was you can use contour, which is not something that I went over, but we can go over as well if it will let me. So real quick, when I click on the offset, we can see down here at the bottom right, it says contour. I primarily use this to get rid of elements that I don't particularly like, but we can also do it to help close in some gaps. So when we hit the contour button, it loads in this particular image of our offset. And you can see we've got a bunch of little shapes on the interior of our school books that aren't particularly things that we want. So we would want to have them unselected. So for this particular thing, I'll just hit hide all contours and then click back on our primary shape, and it should let me load in. I've got too many windows open. And then we shall X out. And now all those little tiny bits are gone. And that will help kind of recognizing when you need the contour will help you save you some issues when you're printing your stickers. Like I said earlier with the toucan, how Cricut will like to cut in there into parts that you don't want it to cut into. Checking, making sure that your contours are good and clean will help you not have that problem and save you on some material. So, Pamela asked, how do you manage a bunch of people needing to use the Cricut cutter at the same time, working with groups in your space? So in my particular space, we have 2 Cricut cutters, and one of them is put in storage that we can just very easily just whip out if we ever need it. And the other one is just constantly out there and running. And then it is a first come, first serve basis. The first person who comes in will work on their project. If we have, for some reason, several people wanting to use both Cricuts, that's when we'll want to start negotiating and be like, okay, your project has 3 separate steps. How fast can we get it done? How long will it take for each step to finish? Is it something that requires a lot of weeding? If it does, can we just get your first step done, get you settled, start weeding your project, and then we can get other people going on their projects as well. Then by the time you're done weeding, we've already got 4 other people who have already going on to the weeding process with their projects, and we can get your step 2 done. So it's a lot of negotiating with your customers to better help get everyone going all at once. The great thing about the weeding process is it is a natural stopping point where you can show people how to start weeding, and then you just let them have at it. And it can suck up your time by quite a bit depending on the material. So I find it very therapeutic to do the weeding process, but other people can find it frustrating depending on your design. How do you track usage for statistics? So we don't track direct usage for statistics. What we do track is we track how many people are in the space. And then at the end of the day, every one of our staff members will say, I saw a lot of Cricut usage. I saw a lot of 3D printer usage. And that's it's more of a scale of low, medium, high to usage. So we saw a low amount of people using the 3D printer. We saw a high amount of people using the Cricut. That's how we handle it. We do, yes, same with Yvonne. We do also offer appointment times. So if we do have someone who wants to use the Cricut for a long project or a large project, we'll recommend our appointment times so that they will have a guaranteed hour to work on something. we didn't used to, and I'm really glad we do now.
Was it based on frustrated feedback that you made that switch then? Like, how do you make changes like that?
So for us, we actually started using the appointment system. It was spurred on by the use of our laser engravers. We ended up seeing a lot of very long usage of our laser engravers. That's engravings that took 1.5 to 2 hours to do. And if we're only open for 5 hours of a day, that would really capitalize the use of that machine and make it so that other customers weren't able to use it at all that day. So we started coming up with ideas of how to handle these customers who really wanted to use the machine. We're really happy to see them using the machine on a higher level than your standard customer, but we still wanted to encourage other customers to be able to use it as well. So then we developed this appointment system in order to handle those customers who needed the machines for longer.
Personally, I'm a really big fan of appointment systems and appointment
Mhm.
systems with walk-ins. I think tends to work really well. People know what to expect. They know the time period they'll have the machine, and it gives people a little bit of ease in that way.
So, did anyone want to see a particular project done?
What are our options?
There are so many options. There's mugs, there's hats, there's tote bags. We already kind of saw. If we go back to our templates, you can see all the other options that they have. We've got aprons, we've got banners. I do recommend just kind of scrolling through and seeing what other people have done, and you can look through. We do often see a lot of cards being done, and that will kind of, we do like cutout cards or insert cards, things like that. So I do see we have an infusible ink project. So we can go ahead, we're going to type in mugs on our type. So this is one of the things that we have seen a lot of issues with. The templates are not a be all. So when I type in mugs, nothing shows up. This is one of the issues that we have. So instead of templates, we're going to go down to projects, and that will load in. It's a slightly different screen, but you can click on all categories and it will show you some of the different options that you have in terms of different projects that you use. So if we click on where it says infusible ink, it will bring in a bunch of different projects that are made. A lot of the times when we are running something like an infusible ink project, we'll start with a mug template and go from there. So a lot of times we'll actually have just like a pre-made project that we will just load people into, as opposed to having them go into the project section and try to click and find one that they like. Let's go ahead.
Is infusible ink the same as sublimation or similar?
It is very, very similar. It is a sublimation process where a lot of sublimation printers, what they will do is they will have a project that will be printed out on a type of paper, and then you'll heat press it onto it. With the Cricut, that type of paper is already made. So yes, exactly, Julia. Cricut already has these infusible ink papers that have like plaid designs or galaxy designs or tie-dye that is already printed on, that Cricut will then cut through and away to create something. So this is an example of what one of our customers made. And this is using the templates that, or the template, the project that we use is this kind of teal template here. This template is designed to wrap around a mug that will then go into our mug press to heat up for about 6 minutes. So when we're doing an infusible ink mug project or program, we'll load them up with this template and then say, go at it and start putting your shapes together. This particular patron put their name on it, but you can also add images. You can also add curvy text. You can add banners. You can add all kinds of things. So let's go ahead and add a mermaid. We'll do a no mermaid. And then
Leanne asks, so you need a special printer and ink, and I will also add to that the product that you are infusing onto.
so you don't need a special printer or ink, not for the Cricut's infusible ink, because they just have kind of like how there's adhesive vinyl and heat transfer vinyl, there's also infusible ink paper. You would just buy the infusible ink paper, put it onto your Cricut mat, cut out the shape of the mermaid, and then put that mermaid onto your mug and heat press it. If you have a sublimation printer, that's when, yes, you would need special types of paper and special types of ink, but that is an entirely different machine than what the Cricut is and what the Cricut does with the process of sublimation. Yeah, of course. And then for our patrons, we don't provide mugs during our open studio programs. We do provide mugs during our programs. So that way we have a limited supply that are for patrons who sign up for our programs. And that's how we help handle the accessibility issues, because we don't want to have people have to go down to the hobby store to grab a mug and then they come back and it's a mug that can't end up being used. So we provide the mugs during our programs. All of our classes are free. All of our programs are free. And then currently we do have a special going on because in Colorado, they are charging for the use of plastic grocery bags, 10 cents per bag. So we have a special going on where we actually will provide a tote bag for patrons even during open hours that people can then customize using the Cricut. Do I have an example? Ooh, I might have an example of infusible ink if you don't mind me running to go get it. I will be right back. I'll go ahead and stop sharing as well. I'll be right back.
I'm curious how many people on here are using Cricut already in your makerspace? Is everybody or some people just thinking about it?
No, we at San Mateo County Libraries, only a few of our branches have a dedicated makerspace, but we are actually using the Silhouette vinyl cutter. Mm-hmm.
The same for Greene County Public Library.
So what I like about the difference between Silhouette and Cricut is that Cricut has all those images, all those that entire foray of things that you can work with that I haven't found with Silhouette. And we also use the Cricut design space and the images that it provides, not just with the Cricut, but also with our sublimation printer, also with our large format printer, also with just making stickers without the Cricut, because it provides an artistic element without having patrons to sit down and draw it themselves. So this is an example of infusible ink. This was a galaxy print that was already printed with the nebula on it that I had the Cricut then cut out in all the shapes of the stars, of the trees, of the observatory, and then weeded and pressed onto the mug. It is dishwasher safe. It is microwave safe.
And I did post a link in the chat to a survey for participants. If you would be very nice and fill that out, it shouldn't take very long. And we can continue to listen to Cela.
Just what Danelle said, if I'm saying that right. We do provide heat transfer vinyl and adhesive vinyl during our open hours. We don't use Cricut brand because it's more expensive. We do off-brand, something that you can just like get from the dollar store, and that's been just fine. The biggest difference is that I would recommend getting Cricut brand mugs because they are designed for sublimation. But in terms of Cricut brand heat transfer vinyl and Cricut brand adhesive vinyl, I've had plenty of success using it otherwise. And we do not charge for it. We do have quantity limits. So like you can use up to 5 t-shirts a day worth of vinyl kinds of things.
This has been really fun to listen to you and to get a little tour. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I know it was a lot of information. It's a lot of vocabulary. Feel free to run through the video at any time. And also I'm open for any questions as well, even after all this is done.
Yeah, and that being said, our new website at www.librarymakers.org is a way you can ask questions in a news feed. You can ask questions right there and have people answer them on that site. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been a great resource for people so far, I think. And I did post the Library Makers website in the chat, and also a link to our happy hour, which is our next event coming up, and then the YouTube channel as well, where we post videos from events like this. Does anyone have any other questions for Cela? Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Cela for such like an informative and great presentation. Like Pamela said, the Library Makers website, we have a network going there that's really great. We also have a Facebook group, and you can always email, I believe it's info@librarymakers.org, if you want information as well. I'm willing to stick around a little bit more if people have questions. But I just wanted to wrap it up for anyone who needs to leave.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. It was very good.
Send your ideas on what you'd like to see too, or if there's something you'd like to share.
I'm glad everyone had fun.
Cela, how long have you been using the Cricut software?
About 4.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, they've done so many updates. When they started, when they only just added that little combine, subtract, unite feature. I think it was only a couple months ago.
Oh, wow.
Before then, a lot of the times I would have to take a screenshot of what I was working on in Cricut, bring it over into Illustrator,
Oh
cut it
no.
up using Illustrator, and then load it back into Cricut. Yeah.
Well, the
But-
reason I had picked Silhouette is I wanted to do my own art. I wanted to be able to upload things. I wanted to have more flexibility.
Yeah.
This was several years ago. Anyway.
Silhouette is definitely robust in different ways than Cricut is.
But when you have to get people coming in off the street to come up with things, that's a whole different.
Yeah,
scenario.
that's what's so great about having all of that art available with Cricut.
What are some of your favorite projects that you've done?
I really like this mug. I've also made some Mr. and Mrs. mugs for some of my friends. But it wasn't like Mr. and Mrs. so and so last name. It was Mr. So my friend's name is Nell, and we jokingly call her Nellington. So it's Mrs. Nellington and Mr. Nellington.
That's adorable.
Well, and t-shirts. You know what? I think I had it right here.
Show and tell time.
I should have worn it.
Oh, that's
Yes,
fun.
that says Library Maker on it.
Mhm. We would do a lot of
Nice.
masks too.
Sparkly.
I wouldn't. I feel like Silhouette is going to be more for the people who are making something for a business. They are like Silhouette gets you a lot more robust creation tools than Cricut does. Whereas Cricut allows you to combine a bunch of different art to create something. But you can we'll still see a lot of Etsy shops, a lot of amateur entrepreneurs who use just Cricut or just Silhouette just as much.
I do think that Cricut has more mobile options. So if people really only have access to a phone, I think their options are a little bit better there.
Yeah, there's also the Cricut Joy, which is a much smaller model that will allow you to connect via Bluetooth. So if you have like limited space, you can do that as well.
Okay, what are your tips for keeping your mat useful for a long time? Like
Buy new ones.
Buy new ones. I was
Yes.
afraid of that.
We buy off-brand mats a lot
Yeah.
of the time, and they
Yeah.
work just fine. We have tried cleaning off old mats, but the amount of labor hours that go into it just ended up just not being worth it.
It's a lot.
I hate throwing things away, but I don't
Yeah.
like cleaning those mats. So alcohol-free baby wipe, yeah. The biggest issue we see is that we don't have the time to clean them. We're already so busy as is, and we can barely keep up with doing maintenance on our other machines, let alone mats where we can just go over and buy some for relatively cheap.
Yvonne says she cleans hers with lanolin-free, alcohol-free baby wipes.
I'll have to try that.
I've done it. It works great.
Cool. I'm gonna add that to my list of things I gotta try.
Yeah, there's a Maker's Gonna Make uses, they give a lot of like hacks for Cricut stuff. It's like a YouTube channel, but I've been using the baby wipes a lot, especially if you cut felt. That's a
yeah,
bear to get off of the mats.
it is.
So I don't do it much anymore.
Whenever I've had to cut felt, I hate using the Cricut for it. So I use our laser engravers. If you have access to a laser engraver, cutting felt is very nice.
We do have a
gets,
laser. We have a laser cutter also, but I was just trying to. You're supposed to be able to cut felt on the Cricut, and I do know that if you use specific types of felt, you can't use cheap felt. You need to use like a actual expensive either wool felt or Cricut felt, which is stiffer, and then it doesn't like bind or piece down. I don't know, like it doesn't leave as much refuse on the mat.
Yeah.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
smart.
What I like about using the laser engraver with it is that you get a cauterized edge. So it makes it much firmer to work with. So if you're working with something that needs to be a little bit stiffer, like a flower bouquet, a felt flower bouquet or something like that, that's nice. So you need something to be a little bit more softer to the touch. That's where it's going to be a bit of an issue.
Does it work all right with the really cheap felt that's, I mean, like the 30-cent stuff that almost falls apart when you touch it anyway? Or do you need a stiffer felt?
All the felt that I've worked with has been fine. I've worked with like the really stiff felt. I've also worked with the really floppy felt. They've all worked great.
I've never had a problem with felt when lasering either. Also fleece too.
I've cut cotton as well.
All right, well, do we have any other questions or any other show and tell items?
It's happy hour for us now.
Woo!
For real happy hour down in the kitchen.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you,
Yes,
Cela.
thank
It
you.
was
Thank you,
great.
Sheila. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.